Baba is underlining remembrance. And yesterday I had this thought, that we usually use that example of a charger charging the phone. And we use that example to understand yoga. So, yoga with Baba is like charging the phone. And I was just thinking, you say that the charging of the phone is a very interesting example, because the phone does all the work, right? The phone has everything. The phone has the apps, the software, everything the phone has, the hardware. But without the charge, the phone doesn't work properly. And then, some apps will not work if there is some deficiency in the charge. And then the phone will be on power saving mode. And then you can use some apps but not the others. So Baba says that, when you remember me, it's not like I will do something for you. No. I won't be doing anything, but you will do everything better. You will be doing it. It's not like I will do it for you. But when you remember me, you will do everything much, much better. Because your buddhi is functional. In today's Murli, Baba uses this word, broad and unlimited intellect. So our intellect is usually very limited. So, the intellect sees, the intellect discerns, the intellect decides, the intellect understands. These are all the functions of the intellect, or some of the functions at least, because there are many functions. So, when the intellect sees, so, when the charge is less, when the soul is in a discharged state, then the intellect is the intellect is not broad and unlimited. It is the opposite of broad and unlimited. So in that time, the ability to see, the intellect's ability to see is very limited. So you cannot see beyond yourself. So that's the ability of the intellect. That's the limited ability of the intellect. Now, have you seen that when somebody is suffering a lot, then, so I will tell you, there is this one Mata, and she always tells me that my daughter is suffering from mental pain, and she has some mental illness that is affecting her, and she's in a lot of pain because of that. Emotional pain, mental pain, not able to think clearly. And in that pain, she always keeps blaming me. She always keeps, I'm now 70 years of age, but she makes me work like everything. Even if she has to wear a sock, she would say, go and bring it for me. And she would make me do everything from morning to night. And she's not even able to see that I am aged and I am not able to do whatever she expects of me. And then she gets angry. So I was just explaining to her the other day that, you see, she doesn't have the ability to see how you're feeling. She doesn't have the ability to understand your experiences, your thoughts, or understand what you are going through So, do you understand that there is this word called compassion? And compassion is your ability. So, you see, in the world, you use empathy. There is empathy. There is compassion. What is empathy? The ability to understand another person's pain is empathy. So, when somebody is going through something, so just understanding that pain and not, even if you can't do anything about that pain, okay, now as Baba's children, we can give some, some donation of yoga power. That's another thing. But then, even if you can't do anything about another person's pain, just understanding what they are into and empathizing, that's a very big ability. So, not beating the person who is already in pain. So, at least that much. And it's a very rare ability. In this world, if you see today, being compassionate, being able to empathize with somebody, it's a very rare ability. So now Baba is telling us that when the soul is discharged, these abilities of the soul, what Baba calls as Rahim Dil, that is compassionate. So being Rahim Dil is and I'm not even talking about Rahim Dil, it's the stage which precedes Rahim Dil. So, Rahim Dil is doing something about the pain of others. But even if you can't do it, just being empathetic, just understanding that, okay, you are in pain, even if I can't do anything, I fully empathize with you. I understand that you are in pain, and I just understand that much. That is empathy. I'm not even talking about the next stage. The next stage is what you call Rahim Dil, or merciful or compassionate, and in that you take out time to give them some yoga power from Baba, or you take out time to just be there for the other person, or listen to them patiently, or guide them with some points of knowledge, or give them support and encouragement to face their fears or face their troubles. So that is another thing, what Baba tells us. And then this is one stage. So broad and unlimited intellect is a very deep thing, because when the soul is discharged, everything about the soul is dysfunctional. So the soul is not the mind, the intellect, and the sanskars are parts of the soul, right? So they are organs of the soul, they are functions of the soul. So when the soul is discharged, the intellect is very dysfunctional. And the intellect doesn't have the capacity to look beyond itself. So just me, my, mine, that's all. Nothing beyond that. And then first thing is empathy. Second thing is being compassionate. Okay, now being compassionate about what? So being compassionate in giving what Baba is giving you. So just being an instrument and giving the strength, the love, the peace with which you are dealing with your karmic accounts, and giving them, sharing it with them, so that they can also deal with their karmic accounts. That's one form of compassion. Now the second thing about broad and unlimited intellect is, one thing is, you are in front of a soul, and that soul is in pain, and the soul recognizes that they are in pain, and you also understand their pain and try to alleviate that pain. That's one thing. Second thing is, the one who is in pain doesn't even know they are in pain. And they don't even know, and it's very interesting. People don't know they are in pain. People don't know they are suffering. And even if they are suffering, they are so happy dealing with that suffering through blame and through I don't know what method. So they are just going on blaming the society, the world, everything. And they're just blaming, blaming, blaming. But the thing is, even if you blame everybody on the planet, your pain is your pain. And you have to deal with it. But the souls right now are so discharged that the intellect doesn't even have the ability to discern that accusing somebody will not alleviate my pain. My pain is something I am experiencing and I have to deal with it. I have to do something about it. And when you have a big heart, because you can see that. So in today's Murli, Baba says, I am the ocean of love, and I have so much love for you that I come, I teach. And you see that teaching somebody who doesn't even want to be taught is not an easy task. So you see that you need a lot of love. So beyond empathy, beyond compassion, there is love. And love makes you do things which an ordinary soul cannot do. And Baba says, this love which wishes for a soul's upliftment, this love that cares, this love that wants to elevate somebody, this love, you cannot, without love, you cannot do Seva. It's love for humanity. It's love for every soul. It's that realization that every soul is a brother soul, and that love makes you do things. What makes Baba come and do this task for us? It's a very big task. You see, when Baba comes, everybody is pointing fingers at Baba that this person is breaking our households, and why is this Gyan doing this, and everything was going fine, and suddenly why you have to be celibate, and why do you have to not eat food prepared by everybody, because that's how social gatherings happen, and then there'll be a breakdown and this and that. But think about it in the face of when everybody doesn't understand, and they in fact kind of put you on the what do you say, Kadgara, what we call in Hindi, the the box where the criminal is questioned. And so that kind of an environment, and still Baba in a world where true knowledge, purity, peace are not appreciated, not understood, he comes and establishes a world of peace, purity, love, and that's not an easy task. So Baba says, I do this because I have this love, and I'm the ocean of love. And Baba says, when you are like me, so when you remember Baba, you get recharged. And when you also become loveful, then your intellect also becomes so broad that you are able to see the pain and the suffering in the world, even when the person who is suffering is not able to see it. And then you are inspired and you are empowered to do all that is required to be done. And Baba says, when you have this broad and unlimited intellect, which can only come by recharging the soul with Baba's remembrance. And so the soul has the intellect, the soul, so we say it's predestined, and Every soul sitting here is a deity soul, of course, because otherwise you wouldn't be sitting early in the morning listening to manthan. So we are obviously deity souls. So deity souls, they come to Baba. That's the sign of a deity soul. And Baba says you are a deity soul, but right now, and you have the intellect, you have the sanskar, you have the mind, you have the, that benevolent capacity, but then you are discharged. And just like the phone, it has everything, but when there's no charge, can't work. So Baba says, keep charging, and then when that charge is filled inside you, and then you suddenly, you will gradually realize that your intellect has started functioning, and you can see problems, you are inspired to do something about them, and you don't even know who is inspiring you. But all that which is hidden will emerge with this charge. And that is why Baba says, when you remember me, your intellect becomes broad, your deity sanskar starts emerging, and then the sign of that is you will start doing seva. Yes, and Baba says, until and unless you have that internal power, you cannot do seva, because seva is a very it's a very altruistic thing, and only when you are full of spiritual power can you do seva. So Baba says that have broad and unlimited intellects and do the service of making the whole world into the land of happiness from a land of sorrow, and pure from impure. So this effort, in a world that celebrates impurity, in the world that, a sorrowful person is a good person. So do you know that when you are sorrowful, everybody will have sympathy for you, and when you stop being sorrowful, they will not like you. Have you experienced that? So in the world, it is very beneficial to be sorrowful. So very spiritually you will lose, but then if you're sorrowful, then you will attract everybody's sympathy, and you can always play the victim card, and it's very easy and nice. And once you are in your power, then everybody will be against you. So you have to pay for being happy, and you will earn everybody's sympathy if you're sorrowful. And there was this one sister, and she told me very nice. She told me that, Didi, Baba tells us that don't complain. And in my office, there is this culture that all the work is just, given to me. Nobody else is given any work. All the work is given to me. And then Baba said that don't cry, don't whine, don't complain, don't say I can't. So I stopped doing that. So earlier, the only way in which I could avoid some work was make a huge cry about it. So I used to just jump up and down, shout all day, I'm being tortured and they're giving me so much work and this and that. And this was something that put everything at bay. And because I was screaming, shouting, making a hue and cry, so that's why some work was avoided. But now Baba tells us that if you do that, if you retaliate, if you react in this manner, then obviously you are creating vikarma, which I also totally understand, because it took away all my peace and gave me all the stress that I feel today. But when I stopped doing that, now everybody thinks that I'm some superman who can handle everything, and that's why they're giving me more and more work. So now, how do I deal with this? So you see that this is the choice, this is where you are in the Achilles heel, because if you do what Baba says, then the world doesn't understand it. So the world would say, if something wrong happened, why are you not reacting? Why are you not taking revenge? Yes, why are you not complaining, criticizing? So, and if you're not doing all of that, then maybe you're wrong. Maybe there's nothing to cry about, that's why you're not crying. So this is how the logic of the world goes. And when you are peaceful and productive and silent and on Shrimad, then the tests will multiply, because you're not giving it back in a negative way. But then Baba says, let the tests come, it's okay. But you don't give it back in the wrong way. Because if you did that, the problem will not get solved, but your vikarma will only multiply. Yes, so Baba, this is why everybody has to use a lot of power and strength, spiritual strength, to do what Baba says. So Baba today says that, in a world of sorrow, creating a land of happiness, teaching everybody to stay happy come what may, not lose their happiness at the drop of a hat, or creating a world of purity where impurity is celebrated, impurity is impurity is glorified, impurity is held in high esteem. So Baba says, in this kind of a world, if you have to do the seva of creating a world of happiness and purity, then you have to do service. But for that, you have to have a very broad and unlimited intellect. Otherwise, some thought, some feeling, some circumstance, something will always stop you from doing seva. And Baba says, save your time, do not waste it, because your time is valuable, your time is here for creating a new world. Now, another thing that Baba today says is, this knowing, this Baba says, you come to the unlimited Father to be refreshed, because you children know that you will receive the sovereignty of the unlimited world from the unlimited Father. So let's focus on this word knowing today. So you see, what gives you happiness? It's the knowing that gives you happiness, always. Yes? So, does your child give you happiness? Or knowing that this is my child gives you happiness? It's always the knowing that gives you happiness. It's not the person, the thing. It's what you know about them or what you think about them. And more often than not, our knowing is not in sync with reality. So, our knowing is belief based. So that's why, there is this knowing and then there is this disappointment, because you thought you knew. And, we always say, I thought I know you, but then you are somebody else. Because that knowing is not true. And that's why your happiness is based on your belief, and then your expectations, and then your disappointment follows. And so just like, when people suggest somebody to have a child, what do they say? If you have a child, he will take care of you in the future. Right? So they will tell you that just have a child, because the child will take care of you in the future. And then the person has a child, and then he thinks that the child is going to take care of me in the future, and that's why the person is so happy. But then gradually you come to realize that the child is not taking care of you in the future, and in fact they are doing lots of other things which you didn't know. So then you're disappointed. So Baba says it's always the knowing, the present is as good as you know, the future is as good as you know, the past is as good as you know. So it's always the knowing. And Baba says that now with this broad and unlimited intellect, you know a lot more than you knew. So now you know that as soon as you bring Baba into your awareness, you know that I am in the canopy of the Almighty. And you know that my future is the best because I'm going to have world sovereignty in the future, the right to world sovereignty. So Baba says, when you bring this awareness, when you just reinforce this awareness, then it gives you a lot of happiness. Just revise your knowing. Just keep thinking about what Baba has put into your knowledge. And this is why Baba says that churn. So what is churning? Churning is something you are doing consciously. So when you are using your mind and intellect to reflect on the knowledge that Baba has given you, that's called churning. And Baba says when you churn that, then you get happiness, you get power, you get realizations, you get many things. And this churning is a very beautiful word, because you see that in the material world we churn milk or curd, and then you get butter out of it. Yes, so when you churn something, then you get something better out of it. And Baba says if you churn something powerful, you get something better out of it. If you churn something not powerful, then just like if you churn dirty water. So let's say there is a drain, and then you churn that. What will happen? The whole place will be full of bad smell, bad odor. Why? Because you churned the wrong thing. So when you churn the right thing, you get power, you get happiness. So Baba says, let your mind and intellect do the churning in accordance with points of knowledge. So just take a point of knowledge. I am God's child. Yes, and I'm like Baba. Even in Bhakti, they say man is made in the image of God. And just think about yourself as God's child. It'll just fill you with so much power and strength and hope and faith. And Baba says that this churning, if you keep doing, then you will stay healthy. Yes, so churning on knowledge. Yes, not churning on the old world and the way you believe everything to be, not churning on old information of the old world, but churning on the knowledge that Baba has given you. Baba says when you do that, then you will always remain healthy, and there'll be a lot of entertainment. So people say we are bored, there is nothing interesting in the world. And there was this one there was this two young sisters who had come to the center, and then this one said, these days I have lost interest in everything, and nothing interests me, and everything is so boring, the world is so boring. And then the other one said, why don't you spend some time on the net and see something or watch something? So they were two from the Lokik world. So the first one is saying, I finished everything there is to watch on the internet. There's nothing left. You name it, I've seen it, and yet I'm so bored, and yet there is nothing interesting in the world. So you see that Baba says that if you churn the ocean of knowledge, it will be very interesting. Life will be very interesting. And I tell you, before Gyan, I was a very avid reader. So I used to read a lot. But somehow, I had lost interest in reading before I came to Gyan. So it was just that time, when I was just losing interest in reading, because I felt like every novel is the same. I can almost figure out what's going to happen, or every book is the same. So I had come to that place in my feeling, and then I came to Gyan, and then, I started reading the books of Gyan. And then I started thinking about them and this and that. And then, there was a time when in the beginning, when I used to think, Kab tak hoga, I will also lose interest in this. So I used to think that maybe, because I didn't understand Baba at that time, or I didn't understand what is this all about. So, when I was thinking that, now I'm liking it, but maybe I'll lose interest in this after some time, and then I will stop finding it interesting. But now it's been at least, 12, 13 years, and I have not lost interest. So, Gyan is the only thing which will completely keep you interested all your life. If you churn on Gyan, you can never be disinterested. That's one thing about Gyan, and that's why, Baba says that if you want to climb down the pyre of lust, you have to climb the pyre of knowledge. काम चिता से उतरने के लिए ज्ञान चिता पे चढ़ना पड़ेगा. Why does Baba say that? Because lust is the most engaging in the world. So, people say that even when they lose interest in everything, they're still interested in lust. So the only antidote for lust is knowledge. So when you keep your man and buddhi interested in knowledge, then you will not have the temptation for lust, because this churning of knowledge will keep you so interested, so motivated, so full of happiness and strength that, the vice will not pull you. So if you have to win over lust, this is the only method. So Baba says that this is why churn knowledge. And when Baba says when you churn knowledge, you will stay healthy. What is the meaning of being healthy? Being healthy means that the vice will not be able to pull you. And just like, there is so much infection in the air all the time, but then that infection catches hold of you when you are unhealthy, so when your immunity is low. Similarly, we live in a world of vices. So there is lust, anger, ego, attachment, greed, which is all, super normal. But then Baba says that will not attract you, or you will not even feel that this is a normal thing when you are in this healthy state. And churning is the only way to stay healthy. And Baba says, and if you don't churn, and then you will be unhealthy, and then all kinds of infection will attack you, and then you will say, what can I do? I want to do this, but I can't, and this and that. So this is something. And then Baba today also underlines the practice of the bodiless stage. And there is a class I had conducted on bodiless stage. So if you want, you can search that and go through it. And then there is Baba's topic. Today Baba also tells about which is very interesting and important to understand. Baba says that when you are creating thoughts about Seva or the yajna, then, or you are remembering Baba, that thought is equal to being thoughtless. Okay, now why does Baba say that? Because this word thoughtlessness has been celebrated a lot in bhakti, and people think that being thoughtless is a very elevated stage, and it is a stage to be achieved, and it's a stage where you get a lot out of that stage. But Baba says you don't get a lot out of being thoughtless. It's when your thoughts are according to Srimad, that is when you earn. Because in this Sangam Yug, the stage that you want to have, or the spiritual position that you want to have, will all come from this using your mind, body, wealth on Srimad. And Baba says this is why there is a big difference between bhakti and gyan, where in bhakti not using is celebrated. In bhakti there is always a lot of importance, and it's very celebrated that don't use something. So you have a body but don't use it for seva, you have a mind but don't think. Yes, you can work but don't work. So it takes sannyas. So this in bhakti you have this celebration of not doing anything. But Baba says no, not doing anything in Sangam Yug will not give you return. Doing everything on Srimad will give you return. So Baba says don't think that being thoughtless is a good idea. Baba says whatever you thought about being thoughtless actually applies to using your mind for seva, or thinking about the yajna, or thinking about Baba, and using your thoughts to do seva. So that's an elevated stage. And I will also like to share one personal experience in this regard. So there was this sister, and she had come from some bhakti path, I don't know, and then she had those sanskars, and then one day she met me and she told me that I will suggest one practice and you do it and it will be very beneficial. So I said, what is that? So she said, you keep maun, once a week, just keep maun, just don't talk from morning to night. And then you will see that you are filled with a lot of power. And then I said, if I keep maun, who will take class? So she said, don't go after class, just keep maun for one day. So I said, no, that's not what Baba tells us. Because maun is a practice of bhakti, of sannyas. So I told you, in bhakti, in sannyas dharam especially, not doing everything is celebrated, not talking. But Baba says, no. If you talk knowledgefully, you will get more and more strength. So you see that Janki Dadi ji, because of Janki Dadi ji's relentless vacha seva, because Dadi used to leave no stone no stone unturned in sharing Baba's knowledge. That's why there is so much awareness in the world today about Baba. So Baba says that in bhakti and gyan there is this big difference. In bhakti, not doing everything is celebrated, and in gyan, doing everything on Srimad is celebrated. So this is something that I wanted you to have clarity about. Okay, Om Shanti.